Welcome to the Women's Connection. I'm barrie-louise Switson, your moderator. The Women's Connection is a program about events shaping women's lives and helping one gain authentic power on a personal or professional level. So won't you stay tuned?
Welcome. We're doing a continuation of entrepreneurs for women business owners, and I have got three incredible women who are entrepreneurs and have been, and we've got the mother, the daughter, and the granddaughter. So please join us as we continue the journey.
Whether the marketplace agrees or doesn't agree, we'll let other people discuss that. But for myself, it's really, again, an extension of, can I do it? Can I make it happen? Will it have a result? Will it touch people? Will it transform anybody? And what will I be as a result of having done it? And I think that's at the end of the day, even as young and middle-aged entrepreneurs, that's what you really are working on all the time, is yourself.
That is very true. All right, let me ask you. The key to anything is marketing yourself. What do you find the best way to market yourself and your product or anything?
You know, I remember reading this book. I think it was a book by a guy named I think it was Harvey McKay, and he had an envelope company. And it was a book on networking. And I remember at the time, the message was, go and network, which I didn't quite know what that means. And when you go, make sure you bring back all the business cards. And if you haven't gotten 10 or 15 business cards, then you haven't networked. And I thought, oh, that's a really interesting idea. It didn't occur to me what that was all about until I started doing it. And then I realized what you're doing is you're creating relationships. And that those relationships are things that you can leverage. I don't mean that in an exploitative way. I mean that they're there for you to use and that they're part of your toolkit. Today, networking is done in a completely different way. Social media, LinkedIn, you have all these different tools. You don't even physically have to go to a room and meet people, although that still is the best way to do it because you connect in a different way. So there are all kinds of tools that are available to create the brand of you. At first I didn't understand how to use Twitter, and I didn't use it, and I saw everybody else using it, and I asked Kieran to explain it to me and to help me figure out how I can use it and what it was all about. And then I had my aha moment that Twitter is a way for me to share my curated experience about what interests me. And so if I read 30 articles in a week, and I tweet the articles that I read, there are people who are interested in the kinds of things that I read and why I read them. And my little path through the reading of all of the stuff that's out there says something very specific about me. And so I started to do that, and I realized, I actually have, followers, and I'm not a celebrity, but every day people follow me, every day people are interested because I'm interested in a subset of fashion, technology, startups, marketing, self-help. And that's a very interesting path. Kieran has a whole other subset of people who are interested in what she does and follow her.
Twitter, I don't get it. All right, I really don't get it. I mean, you post something and somebody will either respond or not respond, and it's in the ethers. I mean, you never see it again. It's like, why? I mean, and how often do you post on Twitter? Mm-hmm. And is there a way to put all your posts, like there's Hootsuite. Mm-hmm. So can you put all your Twitters on Hootsuite and then blast them out at different times? What is the best way to do it?
I'm going to let you answer.
I don't know. I also don't really get Twitter. I don't use it except for work. And I really don't know how to answer that question.
Well, what do you tell your clients then?
Twitter is just it's like the fastest growing social network for expressing a certain thought at that moment. It's just like very short attention span kind of news reporting. And frankly, people don't like speaking or writing in sentences, so it gives them an outlet to do that. I personally don't like that, so I don't use it very much.
Well, okay, since people are talking in 140 characters, which isn't a whole lot of characters, it sounds like it's more for your generation than mine, where I grew up, where I have to say more. Mm-hmm. I know less is more, but that's really less.
Yeah, it's just everything is like an exclamation, you know, like, wow, this, hey, that's what Twitter is. It's like, look at me for this 1 second. Can I get your attention for this 1 second? Okay, bye. There's the new thing.
Yeah.
This is just what is news these days, I guess. And people like it. I mean, the Snapchat's the same thing, but with images. It's a fleeting image for 1 second that portrays a message or a mood, or in some cases a very sexy photo, and then it goes away, and then it's it, and then it's on to the next one. I think that's just not just so much social media, but art and culture and movies. Everything is quickly replaced by the next best thing.
It's
Is
like
that-
it's like a message in a bottle used to be.
Okay.
You know, you'd be stranded on a desert island, and you'd put a message in a bottle, and you would hope that within the next 6 months, some big ship would cross your bottle's path and retrieve it and find out where you were. Except we live in the 21st century, and everything has been speeded up. So these are blips in the bottle going so fast, and it doesn't matter that they don't stay. They're just like the foam on the ocean. The ocean's still there. The foam and the bubbles just keep coming and going.
Good. Now, I'm not going to get too involved with Twitter. It just drives me crazy.
But the answer to your question is yes, you can use tools to set up all your Twitter feeds or whatever you want to say, and you can schedule them, and you can decide what you want to say when you want to say it up to a certain point. And so, in a way, it's not an authentic voice when it's done that way, which is why a lot of people ignore it. Where it's really a useful tool is if you do have people following you and you do want to say something and you know that you are heard, they can hear you say what you want to say when you're saying it. And they might miss it, but they can always go back and look for it. So that immediacy is kind of interesting for certain kinds of personal brands or business brands.
Oh, good. I was so worried because I wasn't. I'm more into Facebook, and then LinkedIn I don't get too much because that's really professional. Facebook, I mean, is I don't know. It runs the gamut. I mean, how many pictures of food can you see? And you know, I'm at this restaurant or that restaurant, but it's amazing when I'm on Instagram and I post food. I get a lot more hits than almost anything else, which is really amazing. So let's go back. You do Facebook a lot, or what do you think of Facebook, and how do you monetize it?
We will create profiles for them, and in most instances with our customers, they either don't have a brand that's been really fleshed out yet, so we'll help them create a brand and then create a brand that's friendly for social media. Facebook is very interesting. I feel like it's become the yellow pages of this century. It's where you go to find everything and anything, whether it be someone you went to high school with or that perfume that you smelled once in a Duane Reade. That's how you find it. You Google it, you Facebook it. Typically, with monetizing on Facebook, you have to use Facebook ads, and there is a lot of targeting and demographics and certain keywords involved in doing it, but you test it and you figure out what works best for the brand. Same goes for, as you were saying just now with Twitter. I would not recommend Twitter for every company that I work for. Every brand is different and has different needs. I would say that Facebook is a necessity these days, though, for any company, any person who wants to be heard or be found.
Well, what's the difference between Facebook and Google Plus? I'm still not, you know, Google Plus, and then there's LinkedIn. I mean, everybody's got their purpose, but I haven't figured out Google Plus's purpose.
For the most part, Google Plus is just supposed to be Google's answer to Facebook. It's like the ugly stepsister of Facebook, in my opinion. It was supposed to be great, and everyone's supposed to use it, and it ended up being a really huge flop. I don't know anybody who uses Google Plus. If you're asking about the difference of them, I would mostly just say popularity. Facebook has continued to rise in the popularity polls, and Google Plus just did not really win it or wing it. Various other forms of Facebook have cropped up over the years, and they can't compete. So I think that in a way, Facebook is the ultimate of social media. They've kind of figured out how to target every single thing that social media is supposed to target, which is planning events, meeting new people, finding people that you already knew, businesses. I would just say Facebook is just the most popular version of what that social media tool is.
And now you have Instagram, which is the same thing, just with pictures. So this is for people who don't want to write anything.
Well, I finally figured out how to do it with the hashtags, and it's amazing. I mean, I would come up with some hashtags, and somebody would say, "Oh, I really like," they'd find me somehow and like it, and then I'm curious, how did they find me? What did I use to find me? And I click on their name, and it's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, the hashtag is a filter. So it allows you to find every place where that was used. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to find yourself or what you said in a feed. So think of it as sort of like a pin the tail on the donkey. Like, it gives them a place that if they have your name hashtagged or something you said hashtag, then that is a way to pull everything that has that hashtag into one feed, and it just filters information from different people.
Do you use Instagram on your marketing approach?
Yeah. So the whole point of the social media tools and marketing is whatever it is you're trying to accomplish, communicating your brand, selling a product, unless people can find you, they don't know you exist. And then if they find you, that's great, but then you want them to do something, like buy something from you, or like you, or add you as a friend or a follower. And so depending on what your needs are and what you're trying to do in your business or your personal brand, you would try to find a way to create authentic content that connects with the customer. And then as a result, that customer will then maybe walk through the journey you have that you've designed for them that should get you the outcome that you want. So it's like flirting. It's like, meeting people, except you don't have to physically meet them. And if you do it well, it converts, and that conversion drives traffic or sales, which are the things that make it so important and valuable, and that's where the ROI is. To just do it socially is great too. Sometimes we laugh that we don't do it as much socially because we do it in our business. And so you just only have so much bandwidth to do it everywhere all the time. But it's a very creative platform in business because it's visual, it's writing, it's sharing information. It's like you get to publish like a magazine in a way, but it's just edited in a different way than a real magazine. There's no page flipping, there's just looking at posts.
It almost seems like it's instant communication, so to speak. I mean, if you have it at your hip, that you're reading it all the time, you see the feeds that come through. But it's communicating with people you haven't been in touch with for years, decades, some you don't want. But it also is that we're back to the instant gratification.
Yeah.
Now, Kieran, you just designed your grandmother's website, all right, which is leahpolar.com, and it's all about art. So did you include other things besides her artwork, her sculpture, or did you do other things to make it concise?
Well, we discussed it. We had a very clear idea in mind as to what we wanted the website to be, and it was going to be just the art and the artist, which ends up being sometimes difficult because if you just put photos of things, then you don't have words for SEO, which is something what we were learning. When building your website, it was mostly just about how can we convey the brand of Leah Polar and the artwork of Leah Polar and not distract anyone from anything else than that. And we came up with a really great platform for projecting the work and having everyone be able to view it in the way that we thought was best for viewing it. And it took a lot of work, but we eventually got to a good, happy ground.
Now, you mentioned something about SEO.
Yes.
All right, I know ROI. So what's SEO?
Search engine optimization.
And you need words to
Yes.
be tagged, huh?
Pretty much, yes.
All right. Is there good words or is there bad words, or it depends on what you're saying? I mean, what the website's all about.
There are definitely good words and bad words. I would mostly say that the good words are nouns. Anything that is tag worthy. I mean, I wouldn't tag. I would say if it was a running blog, let's say, I would write a piece about running, and then running would be a word that would be an SEO word. Something like the, and, but. That's not an SEO.
Search engine optimization is a great tool for finding a way to be at the top of the page when you're doing a search on a browser. So for Leah, for instance, for her website, we want people to know that she's a sculptor, that she's American, that she studied in France, that she's a figurative artist, that she does portraiture, that she works in bronze. And so those are the kinds of words that we'll probably have in the copy. But the copy has to be interesting, relevant, well-written, in English, so that people really are interested in it. And if we do that well, then she'll show up in organic search, which is everything under the paid, and people can find her and learn about what she's doing. It might not drive customers who can afford, a bronze sculpture, but it'll attract people who will then learn about Leah's brand and find her and find out what exhibits she's doing and where she's exhibiting and when, and put her in the language of today, make her popular. You can also pay for those words, and when you pay for those words, then you can get at the top of a page. And so that's what the big companies do, is they spend a lot of money getting high up on the page so that, let's say I have customers that sell pillows or aromatherapy. When somebody puts in pillow, we want to be one of the first 3 to 5 companies that show up, so they buy pillows from us.
Is it expensive
Yes.
to buy words?
Yeah, they actually, it's like an auction. Once you learn this stuff, you can't believe how smart these technology companies are. It's sort of like they created a way to have a taxi meter that never stops, and you don't have any control over where you're going really, but you have to pay to play. So you insert credit card, you say how much you're willing to pay, and then they charge you until you run out. And if you want to keep going, you pay more. And so you really do need people who understand these things and how to take that money and make it worthwhile for you so that you can get the result that you want. And some words could be pennies and other words could be dollars. So, but if you spend $2 to get somebody to click on your page and they buy something for $100, that might be a very good ROI. You just have to understand your business model.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah, if you want to add to the anagram, you need to know about the USP, the unique selling proposition, which is where you decide what, not just your brand, but what differentiates you from all other people out there presenting something similar. So in my case, we had to come up with a unique selling proposition to determine what was the distinguishing characteristic of what I do and how I do it. And that's what we would then support through both the website, through all the social media, and through a video that I did as well. So it's, the collars and cuffs match at a certain point.
Oh, I'm exhausted listening. Okay, wait a minute.
I warned you, it takes a lot of energy.
We have 3 generations here. How is it to work together to get Leah's website going?
Well, I think we come from a very specific mindset where there are no preconceived ideas of what each of us is capable of or willing to do. And so there's no prejudices and there's no hierarchy. Just because I'm the older person in the family, I learn lessons every single day from my children, and I hope they get lessons back from me, but nobody has really the authority of always winning and always taking home the spoils because of something as simple as experience and age.
So in other words, you're all equal.
Totally.
When you come down to it.
And they're better sometimes than equal. So.
I heard a term recently called growth hacking. Does anybody know what it is?
In terms of personal growth?
No,
Or
it had to do
with business?
With business.
Business.
Yeah.
So growth hacking would be finding different tweaks and tools to have a business grow quicker, faster. And
Okay.
so,
Do you have any?
Yeah, so I'll use content as an idea. So content used to be someone would have a blog and they'd write a blog. You know, today you can still do that, but your blog needs to tie in to your website, needs to tie into your social media. Everything is connected so that when you have one platform, the others are also tied to it. And so by doing that, like we've done this with a couple of our different customers, you know, we post something on Facebook, we do something on Instagram that's a little different, we do something on Twitter, and we can actually go on analytics and see what drove traffic to the customer, you know, to the website, to the customer's website. And so what you start to look at is different ways to create the, whatever it is you're looking for, the outcome, which could be somebody buying a product or somebody finding out about you and clicking or subscribing to your newsletter or your blog.
So is there one special tool that you use that you would crush you if it wasn't available?
Yeah, the brain. No, and I'm not joking. I had a health problem at one point. I was suffering from migraines, and one morning I woke up and had vertigo, and I didn't know why. Looking back, I was under a tremendous amount of stress. My husband likes to say it was the honeyed ham we had for Christmas. And it had too much salt or something. But like I woke up and I was dizzy, and I remember going down to the kitchen to empty the dishwasher, and I took the silverware out, and I hate unloading the dishwasher, and so I always like to do it very fast, and forks here, knives there, and I was literally had the fork in my hand, and I'm looking at the drawer, and I didn't know where to put it, and it was like, oh gosh, what happened? And I didn't know, and I was concerned I had a stroke, I was concerned there was something wrong, and it sent me on sort of like a medical journey where ultimately they said it was migraines. But during that period, my brain stopped connecting in the way that I was used to it connecting, and the fear that comes with that when you can't really operate the way you're used to. Like today, I have this ability to connect things, remember things. It's like, you know, I'm a database and I have pretty good operating system, but when that operating system starts to fail you, it's very hard to do the most basic things. And so I would say the brain.
Do you ever raise money for your clients? And if so, what key things would you suggest everybody has to know?
I think the most important thing when you're asking for money is that you really are not asking for money. You're offering an opportunity. You're opening up your life and your energies and your beliefs to be shared with someone else. And you invite them on your train. And there is a price for that ticket, but it generally is under the value of what you're really proposing to them.
Oh, interesting. Under the value.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Nobody ever could calculate the dollar wage for a female entrepreneur doing what she does from morning to night in her life. And there is no way. There are days when you would probably be at 2 cents an hour. Really.
Oh, I can relate to those.
Yes, right. And then there are the days you feel like you just hit the jackpot or you take a quantum leap. At the end of the day, where have you gotten to? Is it where you were headed? That's more important.
Interesting.
So I've raised money in my own businesses, and I'm about to embark on raising money for a new business that I have where I'm a partner. And I think that the thing that I've learned is it's a story, and you're telling the story, and the story has to be your story. And the story is more than just the story of the business. I agree with you. The story is the story of you as the founder, where you came from and why you're going to be the one who's going to make this one happen. And so you need experience, you need to build the story on the back of what you've accomplished. And so if you haven't accomplished anything yet, I think it's a little bit harder. Although some young people today, you know, you probably read about them and go, what? You know, these people, they have a degree from a good school and maybe they work 2 years at a job and then all of a sudden they raise all this money and they have a big startup and everybody's all excited. And, you know, in the end, probably a lot of other people are going to come in and help them with that because they might not have the experience. The other thing, and this is something for women and men alike, is really understanding how a business model drives a financial model. And so as you're looking at the numbers are really just an expression of what are all the things you're going to do and what the impact of those things is. And learning how to tell a story that way is really important and really key to what an investor looks for in a company to invest in.
In a business plan, what would you say is the key element to make it pop?
You know, I think it's for an investor, because I also do angel investing. I think an investor is looking for, is there going to be a way to get my money out of this? And if not, and not every opportunity is about that. I totally agree with Leah. At some level, it's, do I get to play with these people? And is the ticket price of my investment an opportunity to sit and see how they think, what they do, what they'll do next? And in some cases, that's just as valuable as having a business that can exit and be sold for a big amount of money. And it all depends on the kind of investor that you are. So to me, a business plan should be telling the story of either how they're going to love working with you and why it's going to be a fun journey, and then the other is how much money can they make if you do it well.
Now, Fast Company did their annual review of new businesses, rating the founders of the business, and there were a couple of factors, very short blurbs. There were a couple of factors that were fascinating. First, the number of billionaires that are under the age of 30.
It's amazing.
Which is not a true story. Trust me, behind the scene, there's somebody 50 with a lot of business experience and willing to say, let the young person be the front of the company because it's very much in vogue today. So I would say, be careful. Don't be completely foxed by this. There's a lot of people working to support that young, brilliant entrepreneur who came out of the garage last week in San Francisco. Ain't so, right? They've got Anderson and a couple of the biggest venture capital firms behind them. The other thing that was always interesting is besides the age, beside the amount of money, besides where they were headed up, baseline or down, the one thing which I thought was missing, which is, I think, is it Burundi, the only company that has gross national happiness?
I've never heard that one.
Right. It's the only country that says to its people on an annual basis.
Bhutan.
Oh, it's Bhutan. Are you happy? Are you happy? Are you satisfied? Are we, as your government, doing for you what you need and what you want? And I think in these articles, they really have to kind of put the pulse on some of these young people and say, are you happy? Is this what you thought it was going to be? Is the glory of it worth all the pressure? Are you giving up something in your 30s that you'll never have a chance to revisit? It will be gone. This is, I think, especially critical when it comes to women at the childbearing age, where they sacrifice the whole part of their lives thinking that the real secret to success and happiness is being recognized in this very, very artificial environment of how much money you made and how important are you and how often is your name in print.
There's a lot, and I think we just touched the surface. In the closing moments of the show, what would you like to leave the audience with?
Hope springs eternal in the human soul. Don't ever, ever buckle under your fears. The challenge is the best part of it all.
That's incredible. Laura?
So I just want to express my gratitude for you having us here so that we can memorialize this opportunity to share our story as an entrepreneurial family. I know when we initially met, we talked about having Leah and me speak, and the fact that you then thought of it, including Kieran, just tickled me, and I just think it's great because she doesn't yet know what her journey is, and she's starting to look at it and explore it. And to me, that's very exciting because if she chooses to be or not chooses to be an entrepreneur, that's fine, one way or the other. But I think the idea that she understands what it is and that we can share what it's been for us is really all I want for her.
Kieran?
I mean, I guess I would say confidence is key. People probably would think that there's a lot that goes into being an entrepreneur, which there is, but if you believe in yourself and your abilities, that's really all that matters. Don't ever question it.
Thank you for joining us. Look forward to hearing from you and your adventures of being an entrepreneur. Please rate us here at The Woman's Connection. Bye now.
you.